Mental telepathy is possible. Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. As I discussed earlier yesterday, mental telepathy is possible. And as spiritual warriors, we need to build our awareness and understand that our minds are much, much more powerful than we have been led to believe, that we have been conditioned to believe. Our society seeks to diminish us, and because it is generally opposed to anyone being powerful enough to rise above the dictates of society, it ridicules anything that goes outside of the norm. So our power has been denied to us because of the fear of society. And what we need to do is understand that our minds are capable enough and powerful enough to make mental telepathy possible. Now, mental telepathy, as most of you already know, is a concept that's mostly discounted in the world of physical reality. But mental telepathy is something we all need to be aware of because we actually experience it on an almost everyday basis, and we ignore it. We ignore it because it doesn't make sense. According to our mental conditioning, mental telepathy does not exist. But the reason it doesn't make sense is that we have been convinced that it doesn't exist. So I'm asking you to please throw that concept out the window, because it does. Please click on the thumbs up button, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. The thumbs up button is below. The subscribe button is to the lower right-hand corner. And I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, and questions about infinite intelligence or anything, any subject. So please use the chat box on the right side of the screen. Or if you're looking at this in replay, use the comment section below the video. Okay. So mental telepathy is possible. Why? Because we all exist in an incomprehensibly vast mind. It is vast, but it is also only one mind, the mind of infinite intelligence. We literally live in an ocean of thought, like fish in water. You know, J.B.S. Haldane, who was a biologist, a geneticist, and whatever, he said, the universe is not only stranger than we imagine, it's stranger than we can imagine. It is stranger than it is possible for us to imagine. So universal mind, or cosmic consciousness, or infinite intelligence, however you choose to address it, is constantly flowing with thoughts, over, under, around, and through us, thought after thought after thought, ideas, information, intelligence. It's always flowing. And our minds are like radio receivers that those millions of thoughts pass through. But like a radio or TV, we only pick up the ones that we're tuned into. We only pick up the ones that are relevant to our vibration, to our station, to our people, the people who are part of our lives, or things that we care about, like our lives, or our families, or our friends, or our work, or our interest. We only pick up things that resonate with us. That's all we pick up, even though there are millions and billions and trillions of thoughts going on around us. We only pick up the ones that are relevant to us. Now, I remember thinking, there was an incident. I remember an incident a number of years ago involving a woman who was a very important part of my life at the time. She was a very active, outdoor person who loved hiking and exploring the wilderness areas. She enjoyed sharing her adventures with me up to the point that I was able, because she was in much better shape than I was. So I could never go as fast or as far as she did on a regular basis. But she shared what she could. Well, one day she decided that she was going to climb a mountain in California. The mountain she was going to climb is known as Mount Shasta. Now, Mount Shasta is over 14,000 feet tall, but she was well prepared for it. She had all the right equipment. She had physically trained to meet the challenges that she was going to encounter, and she trusted the people who she was climbing with, because you never climb alone. You always climb in teams. So on the day of her climb, I talked to her early in the morning on the phone as she began her climb, and we both felt good about her adventure. Later in the day, however, I began to feel a sense of dread that I had no idea where it was coming from. Then I began to get sick. My stomach was cramping. I was feeling dizzy and nauseous and disoriented, and I ended up having to lay down in bed. And while I was laying in bed, I suddenly realized that what I was feeling was actually her distress. What she was going through was coming through to me because of our strong mental connection. I couldn't contact her because there was no phone service on the mountain. And it wasn't until the next morning that I learned what had actually happened. So it was a tense night. But what had happened was she had gotten altitude sickness high up on the mountain. She'd eventually become so disoriented and disabled that she had to be brought back down to lower elevations. What had happened was, because she was so competitive, she had gone up the mountain faster than she should have climbed. She climbed too quickly for her body to make the necessary adjustments to the changes in altitude conditions, and she paid the price. Remember yesterday I told you that in quantum physics there is something called the quantum entanglement theory. And that theory says that when a pair or a group of particles interact, then they're forever linked and will react at exactly the same time in the same way to the forces that affect one of the other particles. Even if those particles are separated by huge distances, it always happens at the same time in the same way. Distance does not matter. So I experienced those symptoms that she was going through because she and I were so strongly connected mentally and emotionally. And then after that, the fact that she was in a state of high distress and her mind and body were sending out very strong signals of fear and pain. We receive mental telepathic signals every day, but we ignore them. And as spiritual warriors, it is incumbent upon us to begin to pay attention to the signals that infinite intelligence is making available to us. Another story. Back in 1998. In 1998, one of my employees came into my office and he shared the story of an incident that had happened in his life, because, I don't know, there was some talk of mental telepathy or mental contact among the group that was working for me. Anyway, one night he and his wife were asleep when suddenly his wife woke up in distress, panic. It was 3 a.m. in the morning, and she told him something is wrong, something is wrong, something is terribly wrong. Something has happened to John. John was their son. He couldn't calm her down. She was just totally distressed. They tried calling the son, but there was no answer on his phone. And as he was telling me, his wife was frantic, and she was calling everybody that she knew who might have any idea of where her son was and what was going on. Finally, at 6 a.m. that morning, they got a call. It was from a hospital in Iowa where her son had been admitted. He had been in a motorcycle accident. He'd suffered some broken bones, but he was going to be okay. They later found out what happened. It seems their son had been sideswiped by a car on a 2-lane highway and thrown into a ditch. Fortunately, his motorcycle had fallen on the shoulder and was laying on the shoulder of the highway, and a motorist driving by saw it laying there. So he stopped his car to investigate, And when he got to the motorcycle, he saw laying over in the ditch was their son, injured. He couldn't move. Now, since cell phones weren't as widespread then, remember this is in the 90s, the motorist then had to drive in the town and call for an ambulance to come back and get him, to take him to a hospital, to take the injured motorcyclist to a hospital, which is why it took so long for them to receive the call. But get this, the time when he was hit was 3 a.m., the same time that his mother woke up in a panic. 3 a.m. Mental telepathy is real. Surprisingly, when I tried to explain to my employee who was telling me the story, I tried to tell him that was because his wife is sensitive, because there is a telepathic connection between mother and son that is unbreakable. But he doesn't believe in mental telepathy, and he rejected the notion totally, and he was pissed off that I even thought of such a silly idea as mental telepathy. And he got up and he walked out of my office. Oh, man. Receiving messages in your mind about people you know and love is not you being crazy. Don't discount them. As we continue to develop as spiritual warriors, we are learning to give respect to the gifts we have been given as individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. We have the ability to communicate on multiple levels. And honoring those different levels of communication not only gives us greater insight into the world around us, but it gives us more power to function in that world and to influence the world around us. As everything in this world, there are at least two sides to this. Now that we know we can receive messages mentally, telepathically, what do we know about sending messages mentally, telepathically? You'll be surprised at how much you actually do that. Let's talk about it tomorrow. In the meantime, let's close with prayer. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing all of us together in this life so that we may become spiritual warriors and joining the work we have come here to do. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we are beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your power presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. We know that as we feel your presence in our lives every day, we will rise, because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we are now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who've inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this, we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. Please, click on the thumbs up button. If you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. And remember, I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, experiences, comments, suggestions. So please use the comment section beneath the video. Thank you very much for watching. I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this has been On the Wings of Your Mind.